I am your host, Nicole Will, and we're so happy you're here as we navigate the world with your aging loved one. We are here to come alongside older adults, family members, and the senior living community as we explore the world of aging and elder care with helpful resources, informative interviews, and approachable conversation. We get to do this together, so join us on our journey, and this is the willGather podcast. What does life look like after retirement? Life after caregiving for our loved one? Life after being a parent and our kids go to school? There is constant change to our lives, and this can bring up a lot of big questions. What is my purpose? How does this change throughout the years? What questions can I ask myself to find out what is my purpose? What does my support system look like? How do I overcome that loss that life brings? Where do we start to identify that, and why we are shifting away from retirement into reinvention? Today, my guest is Vicki Thomas. She is the co-founder of My Future Purpose. They are a multifaceted membership organization committed to growing the purpose movement. They help individuals, professionals, organizations harness the power of purpose. They provide bi-weekly virtual workshops, speakers featuring a powerful word like reinvention, love, loss, relevance, connection, and security, just to name a few. They host virtual retreats and collaborative initiatives to guide participants to discover their purpose. Vicki has always pursued her passion and purpose in life, and she is now helping others to develop their own. It is my pleasure to introduce to you today Vicki Thomas. So happy you're here.
Thank you, Nicole. I am happy to be a part of your podcast, which I understand is growing, and you've been at it for a while. So you are a master now.
Yes, I hope so. I learn something new every day, that's for sure. I love your story. We had a chance to talk a little bit before. Can you share with us more about you and how you are in this space right now, sharing the mission of purpose with others?
My background includes, right now, I'm 76 years old. And together with my colleague, Joyce Cohen, we co-founded My Future Purpose. And its purpose is to help individuals and organizations discover their purpose. My background included 10 years at a financial trade association where I was the head of marketing and advertising in the 70s at a time when I didn't realize it, but I was a female trailblazer working in pretty much an all-male organization. Learned a lot and learned really the dominance of men at the time. And as my career continued to grow, I realized how important it is for women to be very focused and very strong and very determined in what they choose to do. I was a former television network executive at ABC Television Network. I worked for them both in Chicago and in New York. And in New York, my job was to tell the world how much better ABC was than its competition. I started my own business when ABC was acquired, and I became a capsized employee. In that process, I realized that I had talents both in broadcast and in the financial world, and I combined the two of them. I co-authored a book called Banking on the Mature Market long before it was fashionable to be even in the aging field, again, a pioneer, before many other people were. I created and produced and financed the Dancing Grannies exercise video in the 80s, late 80s, put them on the map to national critical acclaim, laughed all the way to the bank on that one.
Yeah.
And I produced it at the time that Angela Lansbury and Rita Moreno produced their videos. And you wonder, who the hell are the Dancing Grannies? But the most important part, I told their stories that people in Peoria or Iowa could relate to. I won a $100,000 Purpose Prize from Encore.org for the work that I did to help a nonprofit, Purple Heart Homes, get on the map nationally. Got them on the cover of Time Magazine, New York Times, a host of other things that led to their ability to attract grants, individual funding, created awareness for them so that they could help more older veterans be able to live safely in their home. And so I had many stops along the way, and I'm not finished yet with my life's journey, as I love the world of purpose that I'm in. Because, like you, I discover something new every day. I have no interest in sailing off into the retirement. They will have to carry me out on a flip chart.
That's so encouraging for me to hear that you've taken all of your experience, which you've done so many big things and have made change in a lot of ways that is possible for us to continue to reinvent ourselves. Do you find, are people reinventing themselves more than ever before?
Yes. And I think that there are several things now that cause that reinvention to take place. COVID, as bad as it was, made us every age. It didn't matter how old you were. But prior to COVID, you were on a treadmill.
Yeah.
You were in a car commuting to work. It might have been a long commute. You were on a train platform commuting to work and coming home every night. You were on a treadmill. COVID comes. Everything stopped. And suddenly you're working from home and you're discovering new things about, God, I'm not sure that what I do in my job brings me joy, gives me purpose. So that whole reinvention process started to occur with the onset of COVID. Now you discover, even now with what we're watching in Ukraine, you feel your sense of purpose even more because you appreciate your freedom. You appreciate what you have here. And I think this whole process of reinvention affected all ages. And it affected primarily those. Now we had the Great Resignation that happened. 4.3 million people quit their jobs. And the people that were most impacted who quit were those under 30 and those over 55. And so some of the people over 55 are rich with assets because they have work, they had a good retirement. So many of them are reinventing themselves. They're not sailing off into the sunset. They are discovering their purpose for the first time by starting new careers or starting a company or getting into an encore career. Those under 30, that is the largest group that became entrepreneurs and started their own business. So reinvention has occurred not only for my age, or I'm not my age, but those a little younger than me. And I think it's a great thing. Joyce and I, in our business, because we've done so many interviews as like you have, which are on our website. And as a result, we have determined that there are 6 elements of a pathway to purpose. The first one, become a volunteer. Gosh, there are organizations you can volunteer for in your community. The hospital, the school needs volunteers. Find a nonprofit that you like and volunteer for that. Who knows? You may find a job. You may lead to something else. Become an advocate. Look at the things that are happening in your community that maybe cause issue for, like, I don't agree with that. I'm going to become an advocate against it or for it. Or an advocate for lower prescription drugs or climate change or voting rights, whatever it is, advocate for it. You can start your own business, become an entrepreneur. Good can come from loss. That's how Mothers of Drunk Driving got started. When a 9/11 happened, so many nonprofits were created as a result of that. When the Afghanistan war happened, so many nonprofits were created as a result of those significant events in our life. You can have a hobby or a special interest. And so those 6 elements of purpose are pathways to discover what's next for you.
And I think you're right. In COVID, we all had a chance to, everything stopped and we had a chance to get really quiet and sit with ourselves and start to think about and discover, am I happy with what I'm doing and where life has me? Is it time for change? There was a lot of time of reflection. I think that those, pivotal moments have us either stay stagnant or it moves us towards change. And we talk about the word purpose, but what does it actually bring to our lives when we discover what our purpose is?
Purpose gives us something to look forward to as we start each new day. with a very long to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have sticky notes on my computer of my to-do list today.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I didn't finish my to-do list yesterday. So those have to go on top of my to-do list today. That's purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And purpose gives you a sense of identity. We're all here on earth, unfortunately, for a very short period of time. And during that time, we're here to do some things that are unimportant and some things that are very important. Things that are important gives our life meaning and provides us with a sense of fulfillment. Living your purpose, doing what fulfills you, makes the day go by so fast that you oftentimes forget to eat, forget to take a break, because you are so engrossed and happy with what you're doing. Mm-hmm. That is a satisfactory purpose because you are engaged in what is bringing you a sense of joy and satisfaction.
As you're talking, I'm nodding my head. My listeners can't see that. When we look at the span of time that we're here, it is a short time. And I think as we continue to age, that sense of urgency, at least for me, I'm finding that is more prevalent, and the desire to have more purposeful time doing things that are meaningful to me or that I love. You had talked a little bit earlier, I think off the record, about how, you might only have those 10 summers left. And I thought of that with my kids too. It's like my daughter's only really going to be back or in our home for 3 more summers before she goes to college. And that, when you put it like that, it just really causes you to think about what that purpose is. When we do things that bring us joy, how quickly that time flies.
It does indeed. And our purpose changes as we age. Mm-hmm. I mean, my purpose today is not the same purpose that I had when I worked in Madison, Wisconsin for the nation's credit unions, mm-hmm. or when I worked at ABC, or when I started my own business. Mm-hmm. When I worked at CUNA, there was this huge bronze bust of Roy Berginger. He was one of the founders of the credit union movement. And engraved on the bust was, "Keep purpose constant here." And purpose should always be constant. But as you age, you will change. Every 10 years, we change. Do you recall going to your first high school or college reunion? The 10-year reunion, the 25-year reunion, the 50-year reunion, and seeing your friends change in what they did. In the 10-year, you're starting a family, you're starting your career, you're beginning your life's journey, your real life's journey. Then you go to your 25-year reunion and you start to see differences, maybe gray hair, people who change jobs. Then you go to your 50-year reunion, which I've done. And I found that transformative because time became a great equalizer. Purpose is a lifelong journey. And we oftentimes, as when we're younger, sandwiched between taking care of kids and aging parents. We become caregivers. Each life issue we face provides us with a sense of purpose. Do you recall your first reunion, Nicole?
I do. I love that you're bringing this up. I actually have my 25th reunion next summer, and I'm on the planning committee, which I do. But I remember the first one, I think it was like our 5-year, and we were all just getting out of college. There was still that energy of people were really still, it just didn't seem that far removed from when we had graduated.
Yeah. What really is interesting is as your reunion, and I encourage, some people just don't go to reunions, but I think they're very important, and they're very important in your relationships that you have built over the years, that you became your pals and your buddies and your friends. I find it interesting. I grew up on a farm, and my farm kids, once I got on the high school bus, I went into college prep. So I then left my farm kids and I went with the city kids who were all destined to go to college. And it was a very, very difficult time because it separated me from my community. But as I went to college and I've started to go to reunions, the sad part is to see now the number of people who have passed on. And that's why it's really important to have a purpose, to know it, to appreciate, to build your relationships. Your network in your lifetime is your net worth. And it is very important that you not forget and you build those relationships with your classmates, with your business associates. And you'll find that as you go through life, you have your real friends and your deal friends.
Okay, and explain the difference between those.
Yes, it is. And you think that sometimes those deal friends that you're really fond of are going to be friends forever. But oftentimes that doesn't happen. And they become they were your deal friends. But throughout your life, you find out who your real friends are in your family. Very, very important part of your purpose, of who you are.
I think COVID also highlighted that for a lot of people and people that I've spoke with. You really were able to see who those really close friends were. It was that, I don't know if the right word is like inner circle, but when everything else was stripped away or the different fun social events, who did you keep those conversations and connections to throughout that time? It really kind of highlighted that.
It did. And it's interesting. Isolation created so many Zoom groups, Zoom room groups, exercise groups, fitness groups, mindful groups. I have a friend that I just saw when I went to Naples, Florida, and she lives in a gated community, always would go on walks, and I felt isolated. So she took a note and put it in mailboxes that she was going to have this driveway. Let's meet in my driveway and be able to, bring your mask, bring your chair, and let's have a discussion about where we are. What is everyone doing? Let's get to know one another. And it was just her street. And the word spread. And they said, well, why is it just your street? We'd like to have our street included in this discussion, in this dialogue. All the need to have that sense of connection and meaning and closeness that I don't know that it's really connected to purpose, but by and large it is.
Yeah. The
by and large
that
it is.
We value the community, I think community and connection gives us purpose to show up in relationships. So I definitely feel like that is connected. It is
very much so. I think, and I think people connected more, when you're not in a car commuting to work, which sucks up a good part of your day. When you're not on a train platform commuting to work, which sucks up a big part of your day, you're able to suddenly discover what's in my community. When I was in my career, my world was the dry clean on the weekends, the dry cleaners, the grocery store, whatever needed to be done in the house that needed to be cleaned up. And then pretty soon Sunday night came and Monday comes and you're back on the train floor. I did not know my community. I had no connection whatsoever to my community. And COVID enabled me to connect even further with my community. And certainly my current age enables me now the freedom to connect more with my community. And it's very important.
So for me, I know that my relationships are a big part of my purpose. And for some people that holds to be true. We have to acknowledge that everyone is really different and we find our purpose in different things and in different ways. What would you suggest for people to find out what their specific purpose is? Are there certain questions we can ask ourselves, or what can you share with us about that?
First of all, everyone's journey with their purpose is different. It's not the same. It's not cookie cutter. There's no boilerplate. If you can answer these questions, you're off to a good start. What makes you excited to get up each morning? Are you excited, or do you just want to roll over and hit the snooze alarm? When you get so busy that you lose track of time, what caused you to forget that, to have lunch? What were you doing that made you feel like, oh, wow, I'm so excited about what I'm doing? What are your fulfillment needs? What's your calling? Who are your strongest relationships with? What are their needs? What are your career needs? What are the needs of your, as you look to your own future and you plan for your own future? What are those needs? What would you see as your life purpose right now? What do you want to get out of life? If your life, I guess it's what do you want to achieve in life? When it's coming to, like, as you're looking to retirement, what do you want to have achieved? What legacy do you want to leave? How do you want to be remembered? What are you grateful for? If you were to write your own obituary, what would you say your greatest accomplishments would be? And what was your purpose? And did you fulfill it?
Those are good questions. Those are good questions.
Yeah, they are. And it's something that I think COVID, as you look at these questions, or you look at that great resignation, I think these are questions that many people started to ask themselves. We did a focus series of focus groups and interviewing people who quit their jobs throughout age ranges. I think our youngest was 37 and our oldest was 55. Big span. And it's interesting, as they talked about their work, what they missed most was recognition. Tell me I'm doing a good job. Tell me I'm valued. Reward me, not necessarily with a big pay, the higher raise, but make me feel that I contribute to this team, that I make a difference, that I am valued. And no matter what age group in that focus group, it talked about the importance and the need to feel valued. As we looked at the focus group, I looked at this young lady, Kat Davis, who just up and quit, 37 years old. Dramatic. She was in theater. Dramatic. I quit.
Yeah.
She worked for a nonprofit for, I think, 9 years, and was telling her boss she needed a raise. And she was a workaholic, and she literally, I think, put the nonprofit on the map. And when it came time to go in for the review and she wasn't rewarded with what she wanted to be, she just said, I quit. I'm not doing this anymore. And she had no job to go to, which many people who quit did not have a job to go to.
Yeah.
But she found her place in real estate. She controls her own destiny and is the happiest she's ever been. And she says, I get out of what I put into it.
Yeah.
And in purpose, you get out of what you put into it, which will fulfill whatever your purpose is.
It's so true. We do. We do. I had a boss early in my career that I knew valued the contribution that I was making, but her personality type is, I would say, she wasn't necessarily a warm fuzzy, but I respected her. Smart, accomplished so much. And we had a meeting one day and she was, sharing with me, we were going over budget and different things like that. And she was like, how is there anything else that I can do to support you? Which I thought was a great question. And I said, I don't need a lot in terms of you telling me that I'm great every day, but I said it would be nice to hear every once in a while that you value the contribution, or that there is some recognition of the work that's happening. So that is a universal. I think we all want to feel that what we're doing is seen and valued.
Absolutely. It's part of your self-worth. And if where you work, if they're not sharing what you are to that company, then they're not contributing to your own growth and to your own self-worth. And if you stay too long where you're just being kind of battered down, then your self-worth just diminishes even more.
Yeah.
And certainly, I think individuals came to realize that when they were isolated at home and had time to think about, this is not where I want to be.
Right. Like, what am I doing?
Yep. This job does not align with my purpose.
Yeah.
And I think that those who jump ship, as they're looking at their next employment opportunity, they need to make sure that what their values are and what their purpose is aligns with the company they're about to go to work for.
Yeah. Yeah. That introspection. With purpose, there's also, I think, we can associate it too with finding joy in the different things that we're wanting to do. But there's also the other side of that, which life can bring hard things and hard challenges and loss, and acknowledging that when that happens, how do we overcome some of those phases, and where do we start to, when you said, okay, but my alarm is going off, do I just want to hit snooze, or, has me wanting to jump out of bed? I think some days we do just want to hit the snooze.
Yeah, we do. Loss happens to us in a variety of ways and throughout our life. And you cannot go through life without experiencing loss. Mm-hmm. Loss can start by losing a cat or a dog that you loved very dearly, and you mourn the loss of coming home to the empty house when that little fur ball is missing. But soon your grief you overcome it, and you get a kitty or a puppy, and you love that kitty or puppy just as much as the one that you just lost. Mm-hmm. Loss can come from losing a job or a career that you've worked that came as a result of a merger and acquisition that was no fault of your own. That loss is a bitter pill to swallow too, mm-hmm. because now you have to adapt to go on Indeed.com or to whatever it is to be able to find a new job, to be able to pay the mortgage, pay the rent, pay for the car payments, child's hair, all of those things that you need money for. Then there's the loss of friends. Your first loss, might be, you might have been in college or in high school and you lost a dear friend who might have been killed in a car crash or whatever. Mm-hmm. That becomes your first loss that you experience of a human. Mm-hmm. You lose your grandparents. That becomes a great loss. Then you start to lose your parents, your mom or your dad. And loss is a part of life. I find it interesting, and I look at the losses that I've experienced in life. You have to allow yourself time to grieve. Mm-hmm. You don't suppress your feelings. I just lost somebody, and you just don't want to reveal that you're crying or that you're sad, because especially men taught not to cry. But you have to be willing. It's okay to cry. It's okay to take whatever time it is to cry. Time goes on. Time is the great healer. You'll be in a card store and you're looking for a birthday card for a friend. And then you see a card that reminds you of your mom who passed away. And you're in that card store and you're bawling your eyes out because it reminded you of someone you lost. So those triggers on loss, as you heal, as you mend, are normal triggers. Mm-hmm. And they're accepted. That's okay, because we are human. Mm-hmm. We are made of a heart. Mm-hmm. And that heart, when there is loss, is broken of any kind. And it just takes time for this heart to mend and heal. And you need to take the time that it takes to deal with loss. And again, it's something that we will experience throughout our whole lifetime and our whole journey.
It is the hard stuff of life. A lot of what you help support people in is those transitions. And I would say transitions of loss in a way after retirement, right? We're not having our job anymore, after caregiving, the loss of caring for the loved one that we cared for, and what our day looked like is now different, and just having all of those adjustments and changes and figuring out, okay, what is my purpose now after this is life event. I would love for you to share more about what My Purpose does and how you support people, because I think that it's such a wonderful gift that you offer to have a place where people can come and continue to learn and connect with each other.
Thank you, Nicole. It's interesting. I started to see a bunch of articles in the paper and a bunch of stories on television about purpose. Andrew Yang, when he was running for some office. And New York Times did an article, and the article talked about how because of his nationality, his parents wanted him to become a lawyer. And he went to the finest schools and he became a lawyer. And he worked in one of the finest law firms in New York. And he quit, much to his parents' disappointment. But he quit. And the article in New York Times said, I quit because I did not have a purpose. I had a greater purpose. And so then I heard Biden when Biden was being interviewed by somebody, and he talked about how it makes him about grief and loss because of the losses he experienced. He said, "It gives me purpose." So I called my friend Joyce. We've been colleagues for many years. And I said, "Have you noticed the number of things about purpose and people searching for purpose? If you Google what is purpose, it changes every 61 seconds. It's 5,610,457,000 people, 5 billion people Googling what is purpose. Changes every 61 seconds. That number changes. And that's worldwide. That's not only here. So I said to my friend Joyce, I think there's an opportunity to help people discover their purpose and what's missing in their lives. So what we do is we hold bi-weekly free workshops. On this year, we're doing it on a single word, which is a big word. Our first word was reinvention. How many people have reinvented their lives or want to reinvent their lives? Another word we used was stress. How has stress contributed to your life? How do you solve for the stress that you feel in your life? Yesterday we had a session on story. What's your story? How important is your story? How do you tell your story? Do you tell an engaging story when you're talking to a potential employer that you want to be an employee of? And we're going to be doing one next in 2 weeks. It'll be in a couple of weeks on relevance. Have you ever been made to feel irrelevant? As we age, we become more irrelevant. So we're going to be doing one on lift, surrounding yourself with uplifting things, lifting up and getting rid of the things that are causing you to feel weighted down. Just lift up. We're producing a 4-part audio series, and it's called I Quit, Now What? And we have 4 individuals, very well known. One is the lady, Kat Davis, that I just mentioned. She quit her job. We have a university professor who teaches an MBA program. How valuable is a master's program, an executive master's program? How will that help you improve your credentials? We have somebody who has been in career counseling, and then an individual that has been helping with management and helping companies adapt to this changing world, because companies have to now accept the fact that the employee controls the pen to the contract now, not the employer.
So true.
And we are holding, when we started My Future Purpose, we were going to be holding conferences throughout and we called it on the Amtrak corridor, that would be focused on purpose. We had our first one scheduled. We had our speakers lined up. Then COVID happens. Yeah. Oh. Mm-hmm. So we had to pivot. So I'm happy to say that we will be holding our first My Future Purpose retreat in the fall. We're right now looking at finalizing a contract for a venue. And then we will be doing a series of on-site workshops that we wanted to do before. And we're going to start doing them locally here at public libraries. We are a membership organization, and we're doing, as I said, a national survey to provide data and statistics about how many people are actually following and pursuing their purpose. So many significant events have changed us. COVID changed us, and now what we're witnessing with the war in Ukraine is making us more aware of how important our purpose is, how important our freedom is, and how important it is to be grateful for what you have in life. And so that's what we're doing at My Future Purpose. And people that want to know about us can visit our website. They can go to www.myfuturepurpose.com. We have all of our interviews are up on called, I think, videos and audio, and then any information. You can learn more about Joyce and I and what we did and what our lives were about as we strive to help as many people as we can discover their purpose.
Thank you so much. I love your perspective, and just hearing you share about what you do and your life experiences. I think people will be able to find so much valuable information and all of that.
My first book that I'd like to recommend, it's called Your Life's Purpose, and it's written by Michael Lozier, best-selling author of The Law of Attraction. The reason why I like this book is because he boils everything down into, I think, 30 words that get to your sense of fulfillment and your purpose. And it's like a workbook. It's really a great book. The other one that I'd like to recommend, many in the aging field know this man. His name is Ken Dykewald. Ken Dykewald is kind of the guru in the aging movement. And he's got a great book, and it's called A New Purpose, Redefining Money, Family, Work, Retirement, and Success. Another one that I like is The Purpose Path. And it's a guide to pursuing your authentic life's work by Nicole Pierce. And he's a professor from Kellogg School of Management. And another one that I just got that I like is Brené Brown. Many people love Brené Brown. And she just came out with a book called The Atlas of the Heart. And you have to recall the word atlas. Atlas means there are many words that describe purpose. And she takes each one of those words and explains it in that Atlas of the Heart. So those are 4 books that I would recommend that can be helpful to anyone who's looking to pursue a new direction in life, reinforce the purpose that they're currently living, or looking for a new purpose. And certainly, I would also recommend that if you're searching, check out your public library. It has many classes now and many programs that can be enlightening, that can help you with your own self-enlightenment. And check out a community college. As you're older, you can audit classes. Take time to audit some classes and do what Joyce and I have been doing. In our 70s, I'll tell you, this whole thing with social media is, I need a 6-year-old. But take courses to understand how to, if you want to go viral, take a program on how to go viral on LinkedIn. Understand it. Don't get left behind by all the change that we are witnessing. It is so important to stay current, to be well read, to constantly be learning, and to constantly be growing.
Well said. Well said. Having purpose changes our lives. It is proven to be true. I will make sure we include your website. And you're so right. One path of discovering one thing will lead us maybe to another, and will lead us to another. And at the end, we'll hopefully be able to say like, aha, okay, here we go. And we'll keep evolving. Yeah.
And change. Be willing to adapt to change. Don't get locked in time. I have many friends who I don't think ever left the 60s and never left the Ozzie and Harriet days. And those days are beyond us now. And change is very important, and to adapt to it. You know, when I did work for Purple Heart Homes, these are veterans who were injured in Iraq. And they had a theme whenever they'd go on a mission, and that is to adapt and overcome. And I think in our life, we have to adapt and overcome. Whatever is put in front of us, we have to do it to move on in order to have a purposeful and meaningful life.
You're an inspiration. Thank you so much. I'm so happy you're here. Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you, Nicole. And I'll look forward to seeing this and how you're going to edit all these words. Yeah. Oh my God, you are a master. I mean, this has been a bumbling discussion here, and I hope it's meaningful.
Yeah.
And I hope those who listen to it gain some value and perspective on the value of having a purpose.
I agree. Absolutely. Well, it was a joy to be able to visit with you today. I appreciate your time so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening today. If you enjoyed our episode, please subscribe and give us 5 stars. In all honesty, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening to our episode.